Hi everyone, you're with Lucy from Art Shed Angel, and I'm here today to tell you you are amazing. And this YouTube hop is all about how amazing you are, and there's downloads for all of it. Even the Gelliplate part you can download and print if you don't have a Gelliplate. I don't want anyone to miss out because everyone here is special. So if you've never been part of a YouTube hop before, make sure you go to the next person in the list in the description below to see what they're up to, because we're all doing something for the Compassion Hop in collaboration with Mixed Media and beyond. So the very first thing in this project is we are going to do a transfer with our Gelliplate. For those of you who don't have a Gelliplate, I have scanned my finished Gelliplate project, so you can just print that out. They're all going to be downloadable on our website, and there is a link in the description. So if you don't have a Gelliplate but you'd still like to watch what I'm doing, please stay and have a look. Otherwise you can skip to the next part and I can show you the next part of it. But Gelliplates are great fun, so I do recommend you stay here. So what I've done is I have printed out these words for you. Now I have made them the right size approximately for a 5 by 7 inch Gelliplate, and I've done them in reverse and the right way around. I've also done a large version of it, so if you wanted to have use a larger Gelliplate to do this project, the project is available in 2 sizes. So one of the first things I do is sometimes when we use a laser jet printer, our ink still doesn't transfer properly. So I use a picture gloss varnish and I spray my paper with that. And when you do that, magically, it always works. So give it a try if you've had issues. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I want to do half black and half white. So I'm just going to tear it. But I do want my words to meet, so I'm just going to put them together like this with a bit of tape so they're ready to put on my plate. So by doing this, I'm going to get both colours and that'll just be an interesting background. So Gelliplate transfers are lots of fun, and you can do words, photographs. I've got some other videos if you want to watch them and give them a go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm using Amsterdam acrylics. I really like them for this process. I have a brayer roller and I'm just going to put some down. Now you will see that I do not put much down. Tiny little bit of paint. Make sure you don't overdo it. And then what I'm doing is I'm rolling it, and I roll it both ways, and it's called like runway rolling because you kind of land your wheels and come up. So do that runway rolling, because what you want is your finished brayer roll to end up with like a satin effect. So if I was to lift there, you'll see that that has a satin effect and you can't see big streaks of thick paint. So now the next part is just putting down my paper. Now I'm trying to get that kind of square, and I probably should have trimmed it for this, but yeah. Get it as straight as I can. It is going to be an artwork, so it doesn't really matter. And just along this edge where it's double, I'm just going to give it a little extra press. Now this part you don't need to use your roller, you can just use a hand, and I like to use my hand because I can feel bubbles and things. Okay, don't leave it on there too long. And it's time to peel it off. So now I have my imprint. Now that was the magic of using this picture varnish on your paper before you do your jelly print. It works out just like a magazine photo. It's a little secret I use, but I wanted to share it with you guys. While that's drying, please make sure that you subscribe to my page, and also check out my course at Mixed Media Beyond, which has a special discount voucher in the description. If you want to know a bit more about Gelliplates, head over there. Okay, so if I just touch this, I can see that it is dry, so it's worth waiting for. I'm going to put a bit of black, white, my colour's wrong today, a little bit of white, and I want to do that light blue compassion colour that is just lovely. So I'm going to take my roller, because I don't want it all to be really even. I'm just using this piece of paper to mix my colour, and then I'm gently rolling this colour over my imprint. Now again, I'm not doing this thick. I think a lot of people who don't have success don't realise that printmakers actually make sure that their paint is quite thin on their prints. Now, I would normally stick my picture over the top of this. I'm going to be a little bit challenged this day because I want to do my picture on something that I can frame. So I'm going to put it in the center of this piece of cardboard. And this one is a really nice one. Now, once I get it into the center, what I'm going to do is really give it a good press. Now, for those of you who have trouble with their Gelliplate prints sticking to their paper, that can depend on the paper you use. I find if I use a good hot pressed watercolor paper that's smooth, it works really, really well. Sometimes it doesn't work as well. But what I find is if it dries, any paper works so long as you let it dry on the actual paper. So I'm just having a little peek under this corner to see what's happening. Now I'll just give you a little demonstration. Can you see that parts of it aren't sticking? You can just push it back down again. That's because there's a little bit of thin paint in there that hasn't gripped onto the paper yet. So I'm going to give it about 10 minutes. Okay, I've left this for some time, and now when I pull it off, there'll be the odd area that's a little bit rough. That's pretty good. So I could have stuck that little bit area back down again, but I'm pretty happy with this because I want it to look a little grungy, so I don't want it to be perfect. So this is then going to have an arrangement of sunflowers on it. And like I said, I'm doing it on a frameable piece of artwork, so I can have something beautiful to up on the wall that also reminds me what's happening in the world today. So the next thing I'm going to do is get out my watercolors and my brushes, and I'm going to show you how I paint these. Okay, join me next. The sunflowers are a download that you can print out. I suggest you print them in a light grey and go over them with black lines. So you can use an inkjet or a laser printer for this onto your watercolour paper. Cut them out with a little edge and arrange them. So let's get colouring. I've got my Prima Marketing Classics watercolours, and I'm going to use them to colour them because they've got some great colours. And I'm going to use my Escoda brushes. So one of the things I want to do first is get some undercolours down. So your colouring can be so much nicer if you get undercolours down first. And they can be lighter and brighter colours because with watercolours, we want that paper to shine through. So I'm just going to take this very bright green. It's quite bright, and I'm just going to put it on all the stems. So just get this ready. This is just the undercoat, so I'm not worried about being absolutely perfect. Did I get the whole thing? Just getting that under. Okay, and that's going to give me the basis for the rest of my colouring, and you'll see how nicely that works as we go along. So watercolours are a lovely medium. You'll see here I always get my colours ready before I start. I rarely ever straight off the tin. That's usually for final parts of painting, not the beginning parts of my paint. Just get there. Okay, So there's my undercolour for my green. Now I do actually want my green to be a lot darker than that, so I'm going to mix a bit more green now. While that's wet, I'm going to put a tiny bit of brown in it because I want it to be a little bit more olive. So a little brown, and you can see that that's becoming a lot more olive. And the good thing about having a palette like this, I can check the colours correct and pretty much what's theirs. So I'm now going to take that colour and not cover my whole stem. I'm going to leave areas where it has that lighter highlight on it. Just taking a little bit more of that brown in some areas, and it just gives your painting just a bit more shape. So, you know, if you're somebody who likes to make it a little bit nicer and a little bit more depth to it. Now, of course, you could be colouring these in with your Copic markers if you're putting underneath there dark and this lighter colour. Because underneath this area, when the flower's standing out, obviously there's going to be a bit of a shadow area, especially on the other ones. So you can see here by doing the two colours, just a bit more interest. And then when I come to the petals, sorry, the leaves, they were the to give that watercoloured look. Now a bit of water every now and then will just make that bleed nicer. I personally find this far quicker than colouring in with pens, but I think everyone has their own style. So there's my leaves, and they will be going over the top once we're ready. Now, with the flower, I want to do like a goldy yellow. Even I'm going to use this bit of colour that's here because the inside of this flower, I'm going to do a goldy browny colour because we want to see some nice bits of bright shiny bits coming through. So the first thing I do is give it that undercolour, and also I'm going to take my yellow and a bit of my yellow here for the actual petals of the flower. Now the beauty of this is you'll make a little bit that's quite dark like this, and you make a little bit that's a bit lighter. So I'll paint the lighter bit in first, and then I can drop some of the darker in. So that I have interesting petals, I'm going to go through and use light and dark. Drop the darker colour in, and you'll get some nice effects. Now I'm also going to take a little bit of orange over here, and every now and then drop a little bit of orange. Okay, so now I've got that bit done. We've got our leaves and our flowers, and they're looking really good. I'm now going to do the inside. So the inside I'm going to just wet ever so slightly, and that's just so we get a little bit of bleeding happening. And then I'm taking this lovely chocolate brown colour, but I'm going to add a little bit of orange to it, and I'm just going to drop it in the center. You see how beautifully it bleeds? So you want, now the rest of it is all dry, so you just want to tap your brush. And what that gives us is that nice kind of look like there's seeds. But don't cover all of it. And I keep turning my flower, making sure that I leave. You're getting this lovely, almost lifelike. You can see here I'm turning it so my brush is pointing into a tiny little bit of black in here too. Just grab a little bit of black, put it on your palette, and here and there just okay, so we've got our beautiful sunflowers ready. That gives us lovely sunflowers. We're going to arrange so they sort of surround the words. So I'm going to let that dry for a moment, and once they're dry, we're going to put them together. So here I have my little project. I really do love to do projects with jelly plates as backgrounds for artwork. So this one here is watercolors, and I have some other classes. I hope you have a look at the different classes I have that show you how to use watercolors with your jelly plates. Thank you so much for joining me. You're with Lucy from Art Shed Angel, and I hope you give this a go. Don't forget to go and get the downloads. Thank you. Bye-bye. So before you head over to the next great hop artist, make sure you subscribe and check out all the links in my description.